welcome back, Keepers of the Flame. Okay, so video follow-up. How to... They want me to clarify the... when you pull your time, attention, and energy back from whatever system you do not want to flourish anymore, you have to bring that into your knowing. So you can't create a belief system that negates it. So this is where the high vibe community gets it really off, because it's cutting themselves off of lower frequencies that need to be processed. And eventually that's going to create disease in the body, not just in other areas of co-creation, in their own physical body. So those, the crown, the sacral, and whatever else, I don't know how or why they got convinced that those things shouldn't be connected, or you have to ignore and negate the lower chakras, because that's where the lower frequencies reside. It is peculiar, the cognitive dissonance that has to happen there with the processing of information, because the universe has to be balanced. It's one of the key components. So if you whole vibe rather than high vibe your way into it, a new modality of existing, you're not going to have so many whatchamacallits to overcome. So when we acknowledge what's happening on a deep, dark tunnel scale, we can be honest with ourselves about that, not ignore the victims, not negate the victims, not make excuses for the perpetrators and the predators that we created with our praying. We can come to a shift. And only when you see something for what it is, acknowledge everything about it, can you make that shift. So many people just write it off as like low frequency, low vibrational, whatever it is. So when we have a society that we have ourselves failed to instruct on how energy actually works and operates, and then they find themselves in a lot of trouble because they were not informed how energy operates, that's us failing as a society, not a personal, like, well, since you didn't know the laws of the universe and how energy works, you just automatically get the worst shit on the planet. Okay, so that had to happen for their growth and expansion. Did it have to happen that way? Are you sure? Maybe you want to vet that from your belief structure. Okay, so what is that song? Live and Let Die takes on a whole nother freaking meaning. Anyway, so before you can take back your time, attention, and whatever resources, you do need to come to the root of the situation. Otherwise, it's just gonna, again, this is the high vibe community. We'll just cut it all down and then it'll be gone. No, it's gonna come back bigger and better and stronger next time. No, put the chainsaw down, kids. No high vibing. We're gonna whole vibe. We gotta realize this whole thing that we're trying to separate ourselves from already exists within us, and we need to go inside and whole vibe it out. Okay, so I'm going to try and clarify this because I know it gets really confusing. It was difficult for me to sift through all this and figure it out. So when we are whole people, and we are all whole people, we can be in denial about being whole people, but the cutting off at the midriff is not going to serve humanity, much less ourselves. So let's stop creating all sorts of diseases below the waist or below the ribcage, whatever. So the whole vibration means that you assess those things within you that have been put there without your consent, but via your parents or the authorities or whatever it is, right? most of it's been forced on us, and we just accepted it because we weren't told we had a choice. We're now being told that we should have chosen better and blah, blah, blah. So we're choosing better. At least some of us are. Okay. So we're choosing different. Okay. When we have a dysfunctional system, which is pretty much everything right now, that is in collapse, we just need to acknowledge it. We just need to bring it into our deep, dark awareness that yes, this exists within me, and it was put there on purpose for a reason, so that whoever was doing the whatever could get away with doing whatever without being held accountable. That's how they planted the seed of consent without our knowing, is they put it right in front of our face in a textbook and then called it, religious, holy, whatever it was. So, or they put it in politics. They made it law. Now, the law is being created by religious people at the moment. So we need to be diligent. We need to be careful. People are fleeing the country at the moment. And that's why they're putting a lot of things on restrictions and doing the facial recognition thing. So everybody has to go back to their homeland. Which is so weird because, like, this is literally the melting pot of the globe. I have like 3 different homelands, 4 actually. Which one was I supposed to return to? Excuse me? So it's peculiar that this notion is being forced upon us that we have to return to our homelands. So either way, this energetic whatever is playing out right now. So it's not a denial. It's not a suppression. It's not a negating. It's not an ignoring. We're not neglecting it. We are acknowledging it, admitting it, taking it into our consciousness and saying, okay, I know this. And I know that this exists within me because it would not be existing on the outside of me if it wasn't already inside of me, as within, so without. Whole vibe. Okay. Take those seeds or whatever sprouted from them and say, thank you for your visit. We are finished here. Okay. And stop buying into the parasitic vampire romantic blah 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 blah. That's another way they get used through movie, film, and whatever else. Don't give your energy over to that stuff. Okay. And I'm not in denial. I love Sleep Token, but the Sleep Token is giving you the methodology, just in a very seductive way, to do the shadow work. To look at it from all angles, assess the situation from however you need to see it for yourself. So don't go watching some VH1 special behind the music. That ruins the whole thing. The medicine men are not supposed to explain it. I was going through this. No, shush. It needs to mean what it means to everybody, because that's what shadow work does. We project our lovely little opinions and ideas onto the music, and then we start sifting through and doing the healing work. And some of it, the end of the 2025, that song with John Hamm, yeah, don't listen to it too much, because with the way things are going with AI and all the other crap they're doing with storage units and cloud storage and whatever else, the lights will go out. So knock it off, kids. Drop it like it's hot, okay? Okay, so just ease up now. We don't need to be doing that, Leary. We don't need to be next no career. Okay, so just be mindful. Okay, be very mindful of the things that you set in motion. Yes, do the shadow work, but then do something that when you get the shadow work worked through, there becomes a space inside of you that has a potential. Okay. That empty space is pure potential. Okay. A, hold it sacred. B, protect it. C, make sure that whatever goes in, whatever was there before, is not something that's perpetuating the same narrative. Or let the things stay in the meat grinder. Adhere to what you know. Adhere to what you know. And then what you know is coming from the inside. It's not anything that you've been told. Not anything that you need to parakeet. It's not anything that comes from the outside of you. And that's the travesty. It's we are so trained to look to the outside for any source of whatever. And the other problem with that is the information in today's online communities are so corrupted that it's difficult to sift through all the information that's out there. Okay? So the best thing you can do is get to nature. That's the best advice I can give you, is get to nature. Grow a garden from seed. Watch how the trees grow. Watch what the animals do. Watch how the creek flows. Look up where the creek comes from, how the creek operates, where it flows to, and what the ocean does, and whatever else. How does that creek keep coming up? Millions of years. And some creeks are drying up because they're taking too much water for their fucking AI plants. And so just start appreciating nature. Once you start focusing on that, you'll develop a deep respect and hold that sacred. So when they tell you that they're going to need billions of gallons of water to keep one fucking cloud AI thing running, you're going to tell them the 4 kilowatts and what time it is. Rather than just sit there on your thumbs and, wait for the high vibe to kick in. That's not how any of this is worked. It's just the same thing that the religious people do. We're just going to sit in the pew and everything's going to be okay. I'm going to meditate on my mat and then it's going to work out great. No. That's not a system that produces any sort of allowance for that. Okay. So, being aware, being awake, allowing yourself to dream, but not negating the fact that, when we don't do anything to speak up against it, and we don't put any energetic barriers in its way, when we don't see it for what it is and demand that it be stopped, it's basically consent to them. Right? This is why they needed to turn to science, because religion lost its grip, and now science is the new religion. Only science is doing the same exact thing that religion is doing, vetting people off the planet while parasiting their bank account. It's no different. The Baconator made both those clans. Francis Bacon created both science and religion. Everybody thinks the burnings were about land grabs. More about getting the people off the planet who knew how life actually operated and knew that was what was happening in the hierarchy was going to lead to extinction. And they didn't appreciate that. They, the people who knew that things were going horribly wrong and people were being horribly treated. We either put them in mental institutions and took their homes, or we unalive them in a public space, but not maybe after, before figuring out how the innards work. That's how science got started. That's the basis for science. It's the torture, mutilation, and dissection of the human body, which was mostly female. So, yeah, they know a lot about how the female anatomy works. They just don't use it, because if you're not torturing people, you're not going to get them back into the system. Because if you heal people, then you lose your pentacles or your resources. You lose your bottom line. So if you are not torturing and traumatizing everything, poisoning it on the outside, and then when you do go have to see somebody in a Western medical setting, it's pure torture. They're going to poke, prod, and vampire you, and you know, pap smears are a thing. That's sexual trauma right there. So the notion that they're creating some sort of healthcare system is bonkers. And a lot of people woke up to that after Romano, so they left. Okay, so again, seeing things for what it is. Once you begin to see that for what it is, okay, if it wasn't the truth, seeing it for what it is, it wouldn't fail. It wouldn't crumble. It wouldn't create the outcome that it creates. We have this weird facade that so many people's lives are better off because science exists. When science, you know, science is creating a lot of the diseases with all the poisons they put in our environment. All for a buck, for a slave master narrative. So people keep slaving away at jobs that are making them sick and miserable. And then don't have the health care that covers their stuff. Ugh. So if you can see the systems for what they are, what they're doing, where the truth actually lies as to what they prefer for an outcome, and how that plays out in society, how it affects everybody. You know, somebody gets injured on the job and then they spend months in the hospital recovering, and then they come to a house that's been sold by the bank. They don't have a house anymore. So this is how the system was designed to work and function. Nobody's looking out for anybody. So we have to start looking out for each other. We have to start coming together as communities. And those high vibe people. We don't want to touch those people. I know, I'm always reminded of the scene in Band of Brothers where they had to touch the people. In a not so great state. Who's a vicious savage? Sorry for people wearing headphones. I apologize. That's my dog. My little fizz gig. What you got, buddy? Okay, there's a few cards. Okay, the Knight of Cups. Okay, that's the other thing too, is they'll play on your heartstrings. They'll play on your sympathy to try to sway you over to, oh God, I just watched I think it's called The Crow House with that Max whatever guy. He is like advocating for some really, really rich dude to, like, I don't know, get more money or some crap. He needs money for lawyers. He needs money for this. I'm like, you can afford to be on house arrest in a high-rise luxury apartment. I don't think we need to be helping this person. So they'll sway you into thinking that the people with all the power and the pentacles are the victims. Just be careful when somebody starts playing on your heartstrings. You got to bring your brain into it. So don't just live in the heart space. Create that bridge area, okay? Then you've got the Page of Swords. Yoda. The Page of Swords in reverse. Do you need... What do you need? Nothing. He's just being feisty. Okay. The Page of Swords in reverse. So see how all that information is... Yeah. It's like they're suppressing it. So they play on your heartstrings while suppressing information. Like they're guarding it. Oh, okay. So this speaks of, like, see his graduation cap there? It's speaking of, like, how the institutions that are in charge of education vet the information that they give out. And the procedure, how you think about things, how you do things, are all dictated by billionaires. Okay? Then you got the King of Wands in sideways. So where to aim your fire. I don't know what he's barking at. All right, one more card. Oop, there it is. The Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. Again, if you don't see it for what it is, it's not going to move forward. Three of Wands. Okay. Waiting maybe for a ship or something to come in, some intellect. She's got one white building there. She's standing on something that's pure. So she's waiting for... She's waiting for that resonance to go all the way down. Good. Keep doing that. Okay. One more card. The Four of Wands in reverse. Yeah, this isn't anything to celebrate. It's not going to be something to celebrate. Emperor in reverse again. The Hanged Man and the Page of Cups in reverse. Okay, so be careful who you're listening to, taking advice up from, and especially those who are playing on your heartstrings. If they are trying to glean sympathy, trying to make you feel bad, easy does it. Okay, easy does it. And just remember, the poor don't have a voice. We don't hear from them. Six of Pentacles, equal give and take. Okay, so just recall that when you move forward, pay attention to how they're trying to make you feel. If you need to keep paying attention because you don't quite know yet, pay attention to how they're trying to make you feel on both sides. So if you have, like, you go to a left-leaning site, go to a right-leaning site. See how both sides play on your heartstrings. How are they trying to enrage you? How are they trying to make you feel bad? How are they invoking informational emotions in you? So they'll use information and twist it so it invokes a particular emotion. And then that's how they control and manipulate. So don't give your energy to that. Observe it from afar, like from a higher standpoint, and say, okay, what's the purpose of this? What's the outcome? It's asking me to engage in a system that I have more than enough personal evidence that it doesn't matter which side is in office, this 1% narrative is moving forward irregardless. People suffer irregardless. It's just that we had a whole slew of people before this guy that passed a whole bunch of laws and whatever else. Everybody thinks Obama's great. 7 wars in 8 years with a Nobel Peace Prize. Kids, get a freaking grip. Both sides are doing horrible, horrible things for humanity. And we think that there's some sort of semblance as to which side does it better. Halt. 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 Easy. Easy does it, kids. That empire is crumbling. That's the Emperor in reverse twice now. Okay. In 2 different forms. So might be 2 different things. Both sides. Okay. Both sides are just... So, again, you don't need to stop entirely paying attention to it. Just diffuse the emotions that are going into it. Diffuse them, because that's how they control and manipulate you. Diffuse that. Don't parakeet on a narrative. If you have to repeat what is being said to you, you are under mind control. It's a difficult pill to swallow, and I sincerely apologize. Just prepping for those who want to move forward over that bridge without carrying the past. Okay? Come here. Hop, hop. I'm not sure what he wants. Maybe, it could be like one of his treats, like, got caught under the stove or something. I'm not sure. So, all right. Okay, so just remember, don't give in to the emotion. That's what it's gonna feed it. So if you just acknowledge it, refuse to partake You have to see it for what it is. If you don't see it for what it is, you're going to get sucked in, and then they're going to feed off your energy. That's how the system works. I didn't create the system. I don't even like the system, but here we are. Okay. How can the lovely little flame keepers get through this bridge, cross over? How are we best suited to cross over the bridge? Any last minute advice? Any last minute? Something or another. Okay, hang on. The cards are kind of sticky. Sticky. Maybe just put them out in the energies. All right. Okay. So we got a little bit of a pile. So we've got, I calm my nervous system by taking deep breaths. Yes, there's the emotional withdrawal. So when you take a deep breath, sometimes you can talk to your central nervous system by cupping hand, putting it right at the base of the neck, cupping and putting over the heart. In through the nose, out through the mouth. So that deep breath is going to oxidize the system. Let's go with that. Okay. Sorry. I'm trying to translate with dog barking. Whiskey. Sorry, headphone people. Yoda. Who's this? I know. Okay. I'm always connected to my heart. So, okay, heart connection. You can do the whole tap on the heart until your breath comes, or you can do the butterflies over the heart, right? Deep breaths while you're doing that. Allow all parts of me to be expressed. There it is. Oh my God, you guys, that is so the key. So when you have to be around high vibe people or hey Jesus people, whatever the heck it is, when you have to be in those environments, don't neglect parts of yourself. Don't shun yourself. Don't vet yourself. Allow yourself to be who you need to be, and don't engage in conversations that won't allow you to be that. That's the key there. Don't engage in people that are like, you can't be that way. You can't feel that way. You have to see the world through this lens, and you have to behave in this way. Okay. I free myself from destructive fears and doubts. There it is. I am never alone, and I reach out for support when I need it. That's the Five of Pentacles in reverse. I trust that my life is unfolding exactly as it should. I sincerely apologize for his barking. Deep within me is an infinite source of peace. Yes, do the hand over the head thing and the heart. And then you can switch it to your gut too for the parasympathetic. I am grateful for the good in my life. There it is. Carry all that forward with you through this new moon portal after you kind of sift out all those toxic belief patterns. I might do a video later today trying to sift out some of that for you. Maybe do some different therapies. We can start deconstructing some of that stuff in your system, in your mind, kind of get through there. What else? Nothing. Okay, I love you. Till next time, keep your flame.